Extra Bulla
YouTube channel. No, I'm
we're
kidding.
we're now streaming this on Warren's channel, so go give him a hookup. Here goes Warren. He's
Jimmy,
in the crack house right now, so anything could happen. He's a
Good job. God damn it.
And I think that's it. So give us a like, give us a subscribe if you haven't yet. I see some people in the comment section that I don't know yet. BN, good to meet you. Official People Party, that's Jim. Good to see you again. James Doe, thank you for being here. And also, okay, hot R word chicks, thank you all for being here. Shane, do you want to get everything started now that we've done the introductions?
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and start. So the way I'm going to do this is there's a lot of us here. So
I was the only guy.
I'm going to go around and I'm going to ask somebody a question. Then I'm going to ask them a couple of follow-ups. Then we're going to move on and we're going to hope we get to all the questions. And if not, who cares? Because why not? Okay. So the first question I'm going to ask is just going to be what brought you to the marijuana legalization space. And we're going to start with Joe because right now Joe's working with Kind Idaho to legalize marijuana in Idaho medically. So what brought you to that?
Right. So, and this is one of those great things as a non-using marijuana activist is people go, what, you don't use? Why are you bothering to help get people to smoke? Why are you getting them the stuff? And a lot of it is this is about health, medical care for me, because I got so many friends, I got so many family that are better people because they use it. Whether we're talking vets with post-traumatic stress injury, survivors of sexual trauma, people who have had traumatic brain injuries, cancer survivors. Yeah, I mean, we got it all. And people are better because of it. Whether it takes the edge off the anxiety, whether it lets them go out and be part of the community, be better themselves. Pain management's another big reason because an awful lot of people I know, vets, injuries, from downrange, just older people, arthritis kicking in, start using the palms and the CBD oil. The thing is, this makes people better. It gives them an edge. It gives them, it takes the edge off of life for so many people so they can actually enjoy it. This is what brought me to the whole thing, was creating opportunity for people to be able to enjoy their lives around me that much more.
Okay. And what's going on in your state when it comes to marijuana legalization?
Did you basically say that your friends need to be high to put up with you?
Yeah, that's exactly
I just wondered if that's what I heard.
I know that. I know somebody was going to hear that the second I actually said it.
Hey, whatever works, man.
Right? I thought the same thing too, but I have to be stoned to tolerate everyone, so I totally understood.
But at least he knows, and he's trying to get more friends by getting more people high.
Oh, Joe, I'll be your friend.
Thank you.
But you're already high. It's just proving my point, people. Come on.
I'm just proving the point.
Anyway, Joe, go ahead. What's your state doing?
Idaho, it's still illegal. 3 ounces or more. And for those of you who do edibles, you go across the border over into Oregon, you pick up 2 candy bars. You're over 3 ounces. That's 10 years in prison, man. That's the way we do it here in Idaho. You get caught coming back across the border. We spend $3 million a week at border town dispensaries, and we still send people to prison for 10 years for 2 candy bars worth of edibles. And that's where we're at. So a lot of us got together and we're thinking, you know what? We need something for the people here. We need something for the patients. We need to do some patient advocacy because medical freedom, right? Medical choice. This is about making sure that you got the best options for you, regardless of what works for you. So we started some initiatives. And this year, the initiative we got is the Medical Marijuana Initiative. And the idea is to get cannabis cards, medical cannabis cards here in the state of Idaho, get it legalized so that patients aren't driving across the border to get high, to drive back home, or otherwise commit federal felonies by transporting, federally prohibited drugs across state borders. You know, we can actually grow it here, process it here, sell it here, tax it here. You know, 3 million a week. I mean, when you take a look at the velocity of money, when you take a look at the way that stuff circulates, you know, that's $1 billion a year industry from top to bottom, from, you know, when you plant it into the ground till somebody smokes it at the other end of things. You know, $1 billion a year we could be doing here in the state of Idaho. And right now we're spending 3 million a week in border town dispensaries. So this is, again, one of those big reasons why I'm involved in what's going on. Medical choice, medical freedom, patient advocacy, and of course, economic sustainability. Keep it here, keep it local.
Thank you. So now, the same question I'm going to ask to our 2024 presidential candidate. Can you tell me what brought you to the medical marijuana, not medical, the marijuana legalization space, Mr. Presidential candidate?
Wait a minute. Is that? Are you still talking to Joe?
No, I'm talking to the presidential candidate.
Is Joe running?
No, you're the one there. You know, Extra Bulla for president 2024.
I thought you were running too. Look, I'm pretty high myself. It is 420, y'all. So we're gonna take this magical journey together, y'all. Okay, we're all just gonna hang on together, right? Like those kids that are tethered on the sidewalks when they're going to the school. You know, we're gonna be tethered together. Okay. Well, now, what was the question again?
What brought you to the space to want to legalize marijuana?
Oh, that old question. Well, being the crack enthusiast that I am, since you know, this guy, I kind of like to dabble in the OGs, you know. I like to go a little greenhouse rock a little bit, you know, a little some of the smokes from the back of the way back. And you know, I tell you, it's a hell of a lot cheaper than going to the Rite Aid, that's for sure. And now here in New York, that you can actually get it like at a regular shop, right?
Oh yeah.
I know they were mentioning before, like you have to go like through airport security in California to go in the dispensaries. Here, it's like going in a bodega and going and pick up a pack of Newports. Just, hey, you got any of that Christmassy wick whack wickety whack stuff? Yeah, here you go. All right, how's your mom doing? Okay, all right, I'll see you. And then you leave. That's how they do it. There's none of this, you know, Terminator 2 stuff or anything. There's none of that stuff, man.
So Warren, I gotta ask you. So you know, I'm a former New Yorker. You're a New Yorker. When I left New York, it was still legal. They were still kind of getting to the shit. When I went back and I went into Manhattan, there was a weed truck. Have you visited the weed truck? It's like a food truck, but with like edibles and blunts and all kinds of shit. Have you visited the truck?
Yeah, that's Fast Eddie down on 4th.
That's the ghost truck. Don't believe those rumors, Shane. It's that truck died like 2 weeks ago, and that's just a ghost truck. No, there's a real truck that does it. Yeah, there's people they sell them on the streets, just like the folks with the hats and the belts and everything else. They're selling the weed right on the street there too.
A euro and a joint.
Yeah, there's literally a place right at the end of the block there. Like I said, you walk in and they just have them in the little cases there, and you're like, oh, that looks nice. I'll have that, please. And then it's the first time I ever bought pot with a debit card. It freaked me out. I said, wait a minute, this is unnatural. This should be done in a sleazy part of town.
No, that's what we're doing these days. You know, we're going, you know, remember the old joke about having the old margarita truck drive through the neighborhoods, all the white women coming out and start, woo! Now we got the weed trucks, you know, so we got the cannabis trucks.
Hey, Uncle, is weeds legal on the other side of the Hudson River? In New Jersey, I mean. Is
New
weed
Jersey?
legal
Yeah.
in New Jersey? Recreational
Absolutely.
weed?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I think Shane has a really good story about this. Do you want to share that?
All right. Can we share my article?
Yeah, I'm bringing it up right now. Go for it. Start talking.
All right. So in New Jersey, we're gonna have something. Do you guys remember the hookah lounges? Everybody remember that? Well, there's gonna be a cannabis lounge in Atlantic City
Mhm.
Oh,
in the hotel. This is going to be a new dispensary and cannabis consumption lounge. So the Claridge Hotel recently approved a house, lounge and chase the casino. So basically, you're going to be able to walk in as soon as this summer. You don't have an exact date yet, but you're going to be able to walk in, and it's going to be 10,000 square feet and 2 stories, and it's going to be located on the boardwalk or near the boardwalk. So you're going to be able to be at the beach, kind of near the boardwalk area. You're on the boardwalk, you're walking, you're going on the rides, doing all kinds of shit. Maybe you feel like getting high. Now you can go to the cannabis lounge when you're done hanging out at the boardwalk and gambling. Yeah. So
That's really cool because I see it. It says right here, an owner of High Rollers Dispensary told the Philadelphia Inquiry, it feels good, like a good fit for the city as a whole to utilize cannabis for tourism. And I really like that. Like, it sounds like a funny joke, but for real, you're really going to get some tourism out there with this.
Well,
this is
that's
awesome.
okay. And the residents are going to like it too, because a lot of the residents actually
way to
hang
go,
out around
Jersey
the
Shore Stoners.
Right.
And the residents are going to be able to go hang out at the cannabis lounge and go smoke, just kind of hang out there. And yeah, the tourists, but we the residents want to use it too. So
well, and then they're trying to capture the spirit of what Amsterdam's doing too. They want to make it like this nice, by the seaside resort place. And
What
now
did I
you
tell
can
you earlier, Shane? It's exactly what I said. I said, look up Amsterdam. It sounds exactly like what they're doing.
Yeah. Or you've got your hotel, your
tremendously
restaurant,
profitable.
and your
It's
weed.
no wonder why more and more states
exactly.
are medicalizing it or decriminalizing it or fully legalizing it, because for businesses and governments alike, in terms of revenue collection, cannabis is a winner.
It is.
And then they'll install a little.
Look how much
Ed's
money
Pizza.
Colorado and other states have raked in from taxes.
Oh yeah.
Then they'll install a little Ed's Pizza kiosk right there, so that after you've done your little, getting high, you can go get a slice of pizza and you got it all yummy.
Exactly.
Oh, there definitely be not just
It'll be
pizza
weed
there.
pizza, so you'll just keep it going.
I had this whole plan out when I first learned that Illinois was going to be legalizing. I'm like, well, if I ever get the money and I can start to open something like a restaurant or something, I was going to call it the Barbecue Bakery. Ooh. And so I was going to do smoke barbecue. I was going to have like a section that was baked goods, like cupcakes and cakes and stuff. And also we could do pizza, of course. But all of those things could be potentially infused with cannabis or not. You could have like 2 sides to the restaurant.
A little mix.
Have one.
You want to have hearty food. You don't always want to be. If you want to come down, some people would want to come down from their high. I don't know why you would, but some people would.
Well, you could basically have separated kitchens. Like you'd have, it could be like a self-serve kind of ticket situation where people would go up to the cannabis food counter and order that stuff, and then they go to the regular food counter and order that stuff. Like they order cheese fries from the regular food counter, right? But then they go and
separate counters. Ed, that sounds racist. Yeah. That sounds racist, Ed.
It's kind of racist.
The smokers and non-smokers. Come on, Ed.
I'm just saying you have the choice, and then it's like a self-serve ticket kind of thing. So you obviously, like the cannabis line is going to be longer than the regular food line, maybe, depending on where you are in the day.
Depends on where people are at in their high and eating.
Yes. Yeah,
it
exactly.
Really does. Somebody might be high enough and just want to eat some smoked ribs. You know what I'm saying? They might be hungry, not worried about getting high anymore, because some people do manage their high. I was just joking.
Ed, I'm going to do you a big favor here, Ed. Write this down if you need to. best idea for Chicago ever.
Okay.
Sell pizza from your little box on the CTA. You know what I'm saying? You got everybody riding back and forth, going from home or work or whatever. They're on the L train, right? Boom, Ed's Pizza right there. You know what I'm saying? Boom. You got duffel bags full of food.
Yona knows what he's
You can
talking
thank the
about
Yona
again.
later.
So let's
Sell the food.
We got a couple more articles.
They would definitely lock down on that if they caught me doing it, though. You got to get permits to sell food.
Oh, of course, yeah.
You got to be gangster about it, Ed. You got to be totally gangster.
Well,
you know
I mean, we already have like the tamale guys. Some of you may have tamale guys in your city. Where the people prepared to, like before they had this food craze with all the people delivering food and all this other stuff. What we used to have, mostly on weekends and stuff, were roving vendors with a little cooler that was full of hot tamales, and they would go from bar to bar. And so this one guy, they called him the tamale guy. This guy ended up actually opening a restaurant because he was so popular. And when the lockdown happened, he became super popular because it was like people wanted to get food
in his carts, right?
Yeah. And you talk about munchies. I mean, it's these comfort foods that you think about when you have like that situation where you're like, oh man, I need something. And so if you don't have a bag of Funyuns handy, you're like, okay, White Castles, maybe, obviously, or the tamale guy. If your city's got a good taco game, you know.
Mm-hmm. All right, so
you know how you get around that thing with the CTA? You provide CTA security complimentary.
Mm-hmm. You know, we almost had.
They can't admit what they ate, otherwise they lose their jobs.
We tried to get our new mayor on to Chicago Corner before he was elected. He got way too busy, but maybe we can get him to come on for a few minutes. And if we have ideas like this, maybe he'd be receptive to them, because I'm thinking this guy is like, how can I make this city the best freaking city ever? And if the answer is the roving pizza guy on the CTA trains, I mean, what other city's going to have that?
Crazier things have happened, man. Let's talk after
Yona is a genius.
Yeah.
That's right.
So let's kind of.
That's right. See, MTA has Pizza Rat. Chicago has real pizza for people to eat. It's not the rats dragging it down the subway stairs. You get on the Chicago sub, you get to eat the pizza yourself, not watch drag it.
What are you shitting on New York pizza? Where the fuck that come from?
So we have a couple more articles that I do want to talk about.
No, humans eat pizza in New York too. I've seen them do it.
We were keeping it nice and civil on the pizza shit.
All right,
but you want me to put my redneck shoes on? We will go down that road. We will go there. All right.
Just so you know, the New Yorkers on this call outnumber you.
I was told there was going to be a fight between Chicago, New York style pizza lovers. So we'll get to it later. But I mean,
you're getting a taste of it.
We'll have to give the audience what they want.
All right. Well,
John,
I got you.
Chicago's not actually pizza. It's just lasagna pie.
It's quiche. It's quiche, right? Isn't that what Chicago
pizza amateurs? Amateurs.
Look at this box. It says Pandora on it. Okay, let me open it up. Oh, Jesus. All this pizza shit's coming on. No, you're never get it back.
So at the end of this, we can have a pizza.
It's Pandora's pizza.
Hold on. For the moment, Johnny, you submitted an article that you wanted to share. And you actually, before you share the article, I wanted to ask you, your state actually has 2 weed parties. You said one of them actually got 20% in the last election.
In my district, in my congressional district.
So what's going on with that?
Well, not the last election. Was it the 2020? Yeah, not the 2022. The 2020 election is when it happened, and that person was, viewed as a as a spoiler because we have the plurality system, and he got 20,000 votes, and they felt like he took votes away from the Democrats. And our argument was, well, if the Democrat had supported legalization, like everybody was asking him to, then maybe he would have been able to, you know, have that guy. Because I knew the guy who ran. He was actually a supporter of mine when I ran in 2018. And he ran. We have two. Listen to this. This is why I get frustrated with my friends in the Green Party for telling me to go vote Green, because the Green Party isn't even a minor party in my state. They haven't even gotten to that route. And I tried helping them back in 2016, and I know why they're not up to that status. But we have two weed parties. One's the legalized weed party, and one's the cannabis legalization party. I don't know what there's two different names. I don't know why they haven't joined forces, but they both have major status, major party status. They've gotten enough votes throughout the state and various different runs that they've got major party status. And the Greens aren't even listed. The Libertarians are listed. So I have an issue. You know, I did vote for the guy, by the way, because I didn't vote for either of the duopoly candidates. This was in 2020 again. You know, there's we have a bunch of community colleges, and we have the Mankato, which is a huge college, and then we have the University Center in Rochester, which has the U of M satellite. It has Winona State, and actually Winona College is also in the district. We have three huge colleges all around. So all these college kids run it, and that's not even counting the 5 community colleges that are part of these, you know, institutions, and they're not getting it that young people have had it. They already in some of these counties have upped the vaping to, which I'm not advocating vaping. It's got its bad issues and nicotine and everything, but they thought fighting it would by raising the age to the age to 21 was the right answer. Well, all the kids did was go to the next county and buy it and then go back home. Duh, you know. So it doesn't help to do those things like that. But I wanted to mention something because I have a unique story that a lot of people don't know when it comes to weed. And, you know, you say what brought you into the legalization space, or some of the questions that we're asking is like, what's your relationship with weed? Weed's been a part of my life ever since I could remember. My uncle has been smoking weed. You know, they're dead now, but one of my uncles smoked weed. And well, not from weed. I mean, he's dead from something else, of course. But the first time I ever took a hit and obviously got high, I was 5 years old. I remember it right now. Like I'm sitting there right now. I was visiting my aunt for the summer in the trailer that she lived in. And her best friend had a son who was 7, and we were playing together, and like her best friend smoked. And you know, the old cigar box, right? That's where they kept everything. And we were just running around. My aunt was gone shopping or something for the day, so I was over playing with him, and we were sitting down talking to his mom, and she started rolling a joint. I was born in 72, so this would have been 77, the summer of 77. And she started rolling a joint, and she's just talking to us, probably like we are talking to each other about the world and everything's crashing down on us, and you guys just don't understand. And she starts smoking, and she just passes it to us, you know, come on here. And, you know, I took one hit, and I remember my head go, whoop, whoop. And I was like, whoa, man. And I'm not saying this is good, right? I was obviously around bad adults. But I remember being high, my mother and grandmother coming to visit, or not visit, but they were running around. Like I was staying with my aunt, but they happened to stop by, and I don't know why they stopped by. And I just got on my bike and I rode away. I was like, oh my God, I was paranoid. The second time, I was 6 years old, and I was sitting on that uncle's girlfriend's lap in their pickup truck, and she gave me a shotgun, a little bit less of a, you know, but my mom was sitting right there. Like I was sitting on my mom's lap. We were all three sitting in the front of the pickup truck, and they were smoking a joint because they always smoked. Like I said, it was like smoking cigarette. They always got high. They smoked in front of everybody. It was no big deal. It was just no big deal. Pot was no huge deal in our family. I mean, yeah, not everybody did it, but nobody like frowned upon it or anything. Like we all knew this person did it, you know, whatever. And so I had a very young relationship, and then I got into alcohol at 8. Was the first time I drank alcohol, and then I had a very bad relationship with alcohol for a long time. But I never had a bad relationship with pot. As a matter of fact, I've been 16 years free from drinking, and it caused a lot of fucking problems in my life. And I've been part of the recovery community for 20 years, and I started realizing through a cleared mind from alcohol that pot never did anything bad to me. It was amazing. And when you go into recovery, they start making you itemize all the shit that you went through. When was the first time you drank? So the story I just told you goes into that fucking, journal. And when did you start drinking? I remember the first time I was 8, my uncle had champagne. One of my other uncles, turned up the bottle, got drunk, puked in the toilet. I remember it. And then the whole road of all that. But then I realized I never got in any legal trouble because they ask all those questions, I never went and stole anything to buy pot. It was always part of my life. I smoked it every day in, high school and stuff like that for a long time, but it never led to anything like negative fights. Never gotten any bar fights just because I was high. I always, and that saying comes around that I didn't get in trouble every time I was drinking, but every time I had gotten in trouble, I had been drinking. Right. And I realized that I didn't have that same thing happen with pot. And then I started seeing other people in the recovery community dealing with other really hard drugs, meth, opioids, getting off of those drugs and using pot as, their medication. Right. And it was successful. They're happy. They go to work. They smoke a little pot and they don't do the other thing that was killing them. So I'm sitting here thinking, because in recovery, they tell you a drug is a drug is a drug is a drug. And I'm starting to sit here and analyze this from a much broader perspective in my own experiences and everybody else's around me. And I'm saying, I don't think that's true. I think you're picking on pot. It's just not true because I don't see it as a gateway. And as a matter of fact, I have a theory on that. The reason it's a gateway is because what kind of element do you have to go to get it? Who also has, other things. And sometimes, and this has happened to me, they're out of pot, but they have some coke or they have some meth or they have something else. And you're like, oh, I want to get high. And then you end up doing that and you go on a string of getting addicted to something or whatever it could be. If you had a safe place to go get what you wanted, you wouldn't be forced to deal with, shady characters who may be running out or might be pushing something else on you because they want to make money, right? Anyway, it brings me to Minnesota in 1999. And, this is where I got sober, of course, from drinking. And this is where that's all happened. But it's been illegal here. We've a few years, I can't remember when they did it. They legalized medical marijuana, and you got to jump through a bunch of hoops. It's over the last couple of years, I guess it's gotten easier. Like in California, you just go, my elbow hurts. And the guy's like, here's a card. I mean, that's what you had to do in California when they legalized it. It was ridiculous. But here, you got to go and you got to pay some money and you can get your card. And this stuff's expensive, it's not as accessible. But finally, if you bring up that article, that's the article just talks about the latest that's happened with legislation this year. And right now, on a political note, our state government has got the trifecta. Our governor and both houses are run by Democrats. In the DFL, and we have a really mixed bag of Democrats here. We have people who really, they're they kind of meet the progressive thing, but they're still very party centric because it's just embedded in the mindset. However, I can't fault them if they're actually going to do this because it's overdue. One of the things I guess we could look at, it's going through these committees. Basically, all the article's talking about is it's going through these committees. One of the things that is interesting, if you go under the video, where it says Governor Tim Walz D, that under the video, a few paragraphs. He's asking for proposed funding to implement marijuana legalization, expungements, and predictions about the millions of dollars in cannabis tax revenue in his office. And let's see, he's calling for a tax rate on marijuana sales that's nearly double that of the bill that's advancing in legislature. So he's calling for more taxes to be used, double. And I don't necessarily know, like from a budget and economic standpoint, what the purpose of that is and how effective that's going to be. And I certainly hope that it's not something that, they throw in, that he pushes to a point where it holds things up. Because you know how these guys do. They always seem to find a way to mess up what's right there on the tip of your tongue, so to speak, of being passed. And so that's kind of where we're at in Minnesota. And if this passes, supposedly it should be like the utopias that all of you guys are talking about. I'm surrounded by it. I mean, Illinois, I think Wisconsin even, not Iowa, but I think one of the Dakotas. It's just, it's where we've talked about traveling to go get, some or whatever, the sun smokes and stuff, but making the trip and going to a strange place and paying top dollar or whatever, and it just never appeals to us. And
so, Johnny, let me just ask you, you're in Minnesota, in New York, where I was before we legalized it, you'd find the guy on the street, you'd buy it. Don't you have that over there?
Well, it depends on where you're at. I mean, it was walking down Main Street. Hey, man. I mean, yeah, when I was a kid in San Francisco, I'm sure you could do it in certain places of a bigger city. That was, one of the things that again, I got introduced to crack accidentally because I was trying to buy a 10 bag of weed from a guy walking on Market Street. Just walking down you walk down the street. We used to go there at lunch and you just do the head nod and, mota, and, you get whatever you want and do the quick hand exchange. But that's not really something you see so much in the Midwest. I mean, usually that's kind of stuff, most people are just doing it through referral, I suppose you would say. People know
yeah, you end up with a phone number because somebody else knows the
Snapchat or something more less invasive.
It's actually easier than you think. You just have to use your stoner.
Yeah.
We find it. We always do.
Once you know the community, so to speak, I mean, anywhere I went, which was odd, anywhere I went when I was a kid, I moved around and went to many different schools growing up. And everywhere I went, it's like I had a big, on my forehead, you smoke pot, don't you? People would just pick, hey, man, you smoke pot? Like they would ask me. And then so, I mean, you kind of have to gauge them and say, is this guy trying to get me in trouble or is he just wanting to get high with me? And usually it was always they just wanted to get high with you, right? You're a new kid. They wanted, hey, man, you smoke? And so I always found it at every new school I went to. It wasn't hard. I mean, of course, you knew the stoner kids, but I wasn't really a stoner. Like I wasn't the long hair, headbanger, stoner guy. No, I was just like I am now. And nobody really expected that. A lot of people didn't expect I smoked, because I was just like this. I was just a regular guy.
Now, I'm just going to ask you. So you said in that 2020 election, the Weed Party candidate in your district got the 20,000 votes. Do you think that they would be able to, that's going to make a difference in pressuring for this bill because the Democrats know that?
I think that's what happened. They lost enough races locally and they're getting pressure. And because they even asked, they pressured one of the candidates for a state seat in 2022 that I know to get out. And, he was running unopposed against a Republican and they brought somebody in to run to throw a wrench in the whole damn thing. And he ended up losing. So they know that people wanted this for a long time. And people, it's ridiculous. The Democrats, the conservative Democrats, Minnesota is kind of like the whole Congress. It reflects, it's kind of almost like the same makeup, because you have these conservative blue dog Democrats that hold on to these kind of old traditional values, and they need more research. I'm not shitting you. That's the excuse that they use. They need more research. And I'm like, dude, 45 years here of research. Let's talk about it. Like, what do you need to know? I mean, it's ridiculous. So I do think that by having those parties encroach, it's forcing their hand with policy. The only problem is, right, for us, many of us sitting here, that's a double-edged sword, because they're going to get credit for doing something good that's been pressured from an outside source. That outside source is then going to lose its momentum because nobody's going to give them credit for what we just talked about. The Democrats are going to get the credit, and that machine continues to get reinforced.
Now, what do you say to people out there who say that using third parties to pressure major parties never works? Because I've heard that, well, they're not going to win and we're not going to be able to pressure anybody, so why should we bother voting for them?
Okay, well, here's the thing. The Democrats lost the congressional seat to the Republican. So that person got that seat, and he's a Trumpster. He's a mega Trumpster. He's not just a Republican or conservative, which, look, I can make the distinguishment between somebody who isn't in that mindset and has conservative traditional values, whatever, and is, believes certain ways, but doesn't have that cultist thinking. He's right in there with them. And so that's even a bigger loss. The problem isn't the third parties pressuring to try to get policy. The problem is the election and voting method that allows a spoiler effect through a plurality. Because if we had ranked choice or star voting, I'm a proponent for, yes. But a method that brought out an instant runoff of some sort, then who knows? Enough people. Maybe these conservatives who believe, maybe like some of the people in Idaho that might be a little bit more conservative, but no, honestly, that they're a little bit more conservative, but they're like, hey, when it comes to pot, like it's enough. Let's go. And there might be farmers and people around here who vote Republican, but when it comes to something like pot, they're like, oh, let's just let this go, So
you got the single issue voters, they'll vote the party line, but they really, really wish the party would just friggin' lighten up and pull a stick out of their ass, long enough to get certain things out of the way, so we're not stressing over it.
And we don't have ballot initiatives in Minnesota. That's one of the things that we are lacking. Everything has to go through Congress and has to be a change to the Constitution, on certain things or whatever, So either it has to be a bill passed, or if you want to bring. I looked it up, and it's real confusing. If you want something, you have to get signatures and then have it presented to the legislation for them to craft a bill to bring it up and blah, 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 blah. But it's still not a ballot initiative of any sort where you get to publicly vote on it.
Absolutely. And we haven't heard anything from Brandy yet. So, Brandy, what's going on in Arkansas? What brought you to the legalization space? And go. Sorry.
You're fine. I started smoking at 15. A lot of my relatives smoked, including my friends and their parents. Heck, we had a lot of our teachers smoked. It was a retired hippie town. We had off campus at lunch, so we'd go. It was 10th grade and up. We'd go to lunch, get high, come back to school. That was how I lived my junior and senior year. But no, I quit when I had kids. I quit smoking completely because of the legality of it and being afraid of losing my kids, having my kids taken from me. Well, in 2007, after what I went through with the twins, I have battled chronic pain and had multiple diagnoses of fibromyalgia, chronic inflammation disease, IBS. We're still going through tests after test after test and specialist after specialist after specialist, and I have migraines. So I got my medical card after they legalized it for medical use through a ballot initiative in the state of Arkansas. And they actually did it as a constitutional amendment. Now, there was a list of conditions, but my doctor was one of those that got on there to be able to do them. So I didn't have to switch to a different doctor just to get the medical card. And so I use that, and I use it for chronic pain and to help me sleep and with my headaches and migraines. So last year in 2022, they tried to do a recreational bill through the ballot initiative, and it failed. Well, it was actually a giveaway because with the way it is set up through medical, it's all through industry. You can't grow your own. And so when they tried to do the recreational bill, they were going to send it through the same industries to where you had to go buy it from one of these shops, like what I have to do now. But they were going to give a percentage of the profit, of the tax profit off of it to the police. And so between the very conservative Christian right wing, and then those of us who are, we consider ourselves abolitionists that live here in Arkansas, between both of us voting against it, it failed. A lot of the abolitionists voted against it just for the pure fact that it gives money to cops. And so this year, one of our Republican senators has gotten smart. And it's simple. If you scroll down, let me find it, to right there, the bill SJR 13, and click on it, it's one page. That's it.
Wow.
And it'll allow us to grow it for use and craft. Which is what we need. We do need, I mean, they've made, with the industry over here, they've made it so expensive. It's hard to afford anything. And then with my heart problems, I can't smoke, so I have to use edibles. It'd be much easier if I could grow it and then concentrate it into butters and things like that and be able to make my own. So that's what we're hoping for. This is what I'm going to be pushing for with the, more than anything, with the election in 2024. This is going to be my main push.
That's awesome. Good for you. I like that. We've got one more from Yona. I believe Yona has one for his state, Kentucky.
What's going on
That's
in
right.
Kentucky?
Well, back on March the 16th, the Senate passed the bill for medical marijuana in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And then on the 31st of March, Governor Beshear's son, who's now governor, Andy Beshear, you got to love nepotism, he signed it into law, and it actually goes into effect, I want to say it's on January the 1st, 2025, because they always drag their feet, Shane. You know how they do. Whereas in West Virginia got their medical marijuana in 2017. Ohio got it in 2016. None of the three states here in the Huntington area have recreational. But Kentucky is just the very, very latest state in our great union to get medical marijuana. But now they get to drag their feet for a year and a half because, you know, it's so hard to figure out, you know, all these things that 35 other states have already done, but whatever.
Yep. That's exactly what
figuring out how to corner the market. That's really what it boils down to, because we know
Exactly.
we still know that 83% of the people who are making the money on the legalization of cannabis are the same demographic, old white men, right? It's definitely not the people who've been negatively impacted by the criminalization of cannabis. So that's still a huge problem as we talk about how wonderful it is that it's being legalized. Is behind the scenes there are people using the capitalist model to manipulate the resources. And yes, it's great it's legal for us to grow our own and things like that, but there's still going to be a market out there that's being dominated, and a black market that's trying to offset that because they don't want to pay the legal fees and all that other stuff that's being regulated. There's going to be some
I must say, I just find it I do find it very ironic in the sense that, hemp and cannabis were main cash crops of Virginia colony and Kentucky by extension, as well as North Carolina and Tennessee, going back to the colonial period. And the fact that marijuana is still a federally scheduled controlled substance of the highest order is just, we know why it was made illegal. And of course, there's so much revenue that's derived from it. But
why don't you recap on that for the audience?
About the market manipulation, where they don't, without allowing people to grow it themselves, because it really is about medicine to me. For example, Pfizer and other companies, I could call drug dealers myself. And they literally get to mandate their drugs to you, whereas other people are criminalized for growing a freaking plant. That's been proven, at least by our tribe, the Cherokee, to be a highly effective medicine for literally thousands upon thousands of years. So, whatever, man.
Yeah, and
I do have a funny 420 bomb story for you when you're ready, Shane. A super duper 420 story for you.
Absolutely. So, Jimmy, why don't you tell us about the paradise that is California?
Well, it is legal out here, like recreationally. Still, obviously, it's not federally legal, but statewide it's legal. But we still get crackdowns. I just showed on my video on my show this morning how the police are cracking down and raiding and closing down shops, which is kind of like what you guys were just saying. It's these little shops that keep getting raided. These little what you would call mom and pop weed shops are actually getting raided. But you have in downtown LA, you have this humongous building that's painted in Cookies special blue color, like this brand Cookies, their special blue color. This whole building is this color blue, and it says Cookies right on the front of the building in giant words, and they never get touched. Nobody ever bothers them because there's celebrities and famous people that have invested in this company, especially like Snoop Dogg and stuff. Like, I'm not belittling them, but it just sucks to see that they're still raiding these small little areas while these big ones are getting away with all of it. But as a customer, I feel like a spoiled brat. I can have pretty much whatever I want, whenever I want. Doesn't even matter.
We're over here in New York and New Jersey, I still consider myself a New Yorker, rolling our shit with dollar bills while you're getting pre-rolled shit.
That's right.
And
pre-rolled shit,
dripped
in wax with keef rolled all over on top of it. It's so beautiful.
You get some of that pre-rolled too.
Yeah, it's so pretty.
We roll with our dollar bills.
Yeah, we still work for our weed over here. You're over there at your Dunkin' Donuts of weed.
Right.
You put the sprinkles on it, put a little icing on there, and we're over here just like,
Yep. I am kind of jealous though that New Jersey is getting like a weed coffee shop, because A few years back here in the mountain, there was a guy that was wanting to turn his coffee shop into a weed coffee shop. And I was thinking, well, we're unincorporated. It's not a big deal. I mean, they literally have like on like 4th of July weekends, they'll have like beer stands on the main street out here, and people can just be walking around on the streets getting drunk, and it doesn't even matter. So I was like, of course a coffee shop shouldn't be a big deal. So I would go to this guy's coffee shop all the time. We would talk politics, I would go down to City Hall just to be able to get my word in about, how they would feel about something like that. And it finally got to a point, like, Chamber of Commerce was fighting us tooth and nail. They did not want us to have one at all whatsoever. And then one day I was going to go in and fight the Chamber of Commerce with him. I went to his shop and he's all, give me a minute. And he goes back behind the shop for like 30 minutes or so. And I'm sitting out there just drinking my coffee, just waiting for him to come back out. And he comes back out with the fucking one of the mountain church's pastors and says, sorry, there's nothing I can do. I sold it to the church. And now it's a fucking church coffee shop. And I hate that place so much. I feel so defeated. Yeah, and this is the kind of stuff that we have to deal with even in California. Like, the church wins everything. Like, they're wanting to tear down actual land to build churches.
They probably threatened to run him out if he
didn't sell.
If he fought and just kill his business, nobody will drink your coffee anymore. You'll go under, or sell us and we'll, I mean, that's the way people do people. I mean, you see it in the movies, but it's actually based on real life. I mean, people get these ideas because they experience them in real life.
Yeah.
So before we go to Yona's story, let's jump back to Chicago.
A major issue has erupted legally. I was just going to mention before you leave California, a major issue has erupted in the courts because when it comes to legal state licensed businesses, like for example in California, they're licensed by Sacramento, sales and growing and everything. When they go to do banking, because of federal banking laws, they're not allowed to use the banks in a normal way. So they literally have to get Brinks trucks to come to the dispensaries and take away literally boatloads of cash. Well, for example, in Los Angeles County, or no, it was San Bernardino County. San Bernardino County deputies tailed behind a Brinks truck going by dispensary after dispensary. And after it hit the last dispensary, they then pulled it over and did an asset forfeiture of a freaking Brinks truck and seized the money as drug money under federal law. And that's been dragging through the courts, and that's a big freaking deal. Because normally, if an armed party robs a Brinks truck, that's felony theft. But if they're highwaymen and it's highway robbery and they're the police, I mean, that's where the whole phrase comes from, right, Joe? Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
So I want to jump back to Chicago, where we apparently have a cannabis strike. Can we get that shared on screen real quick?
Yes, let me pull it up. Give me just 1 second. Go ahead and start talking about it.
Ed, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Okay. In the Chicago area, I just wanted to point out how I understand how other states are still struggling with legalizing and dealing with the legal hurdles for that. Some states only have. We've got recreational cannabis here in Illinois, and so they're slowly starting to normalize situations, and you can tell by situations like this. We've got union workers working in marijuana dispensaries. The workers for the Rise marijuana set of dispensaries is connected to Teamsters Local 777, and they're on strike right now for unfair labor practices. So while obviously we've got a long way to go, and we still have to deal with the different dispensaries having to decide whether the feds like them or not, or whether they're able to get proper funding for them, depending on which banks are willing to lend.
Now, think about this. Let's say a dispensary becomes very worker friendly, and the feds decide they don't like that dispensary. You could see how that could become a problem. right?
Yeah,
Rather
yeah.
than
So it's like the places that maybe favor non-union labor might be getting preferential treatment, is what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah, and then
that
ones who bend the knee to, you know, or not bend the knee, but actually favor their workers and say, okay, you know, we're going to treat you right, and we're going to, you know, whatever, a co-op or something like that. They might be the target of the, you know, the agencies. More so because they're not playing ball. Maybe they're not giving kickbacks. Who knows? You know, I mean, it's a dirty kind of society that we live in. I wouldn't put anything past, you know, any kind of corruption past anybody in this country at this point.
Yeah. The question I wanted to ask is there going to be at a certain level where a number of states have basically ratified recreational marijuana? What's the number that will make it legal for all states? Is it 2/3 of the states?
Technically, it's 34. If that were to be like that's the process for doing like an amendment to ratify something is 34 out of the 50.
But that's one of the things about the way they did this is they didn't do the amendment like they did with alcohol prohibition. They literally slid it in under some other federalized
it wasn't a constitutional amendment that they did for pot. It was just a law. It's just a federal law.
So they literally got to walk everything backwards. The way they made everything illegal, they have to turn around and legalize it again. So there is no center of mass where it's just automatically legal, you know, in every state in the union. You know,
well, wait, Joe. I don't know that that's true, because there is one step that the president can do that we all know about, which is it's in his authority to remove it from the DEA's controlled substance list, which automatically removes it from federal enforcement.
That would decriminalize it.
Decriminalize, right? Not legalize, but that's a step toward legalization, because then the states are free from all this stuff you guys were talking about with the banking and all that other stuff. Now you don't have the feds coming after these dispensaries for some odd reason, because it's not criminalized federally. So now the states are free to legalize it if they so want. And then if it's so many states, then, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Then there's no,
but that's the trick of the thing, you know, because California was one of the first to actually make drugs illegal. They made opium illegal simply because in San Francisco, because of the Chinese workers that were coming over and bringing the stuff. Idaho, 1927, we made marijuana illegal. I mean, 1927,
the yellow
we made it illegal because the beet field workers were using it, you know, in order to manage pain management and be able to work throughout the day. You know, we made it illegal for purely racist reasons. We made it illegal because the lower class workers, you know, were out in the field using it, and then they bring it into town with them. You know, so we jumped through all sorts of hoops, but that's the same problem with working it in reverse. You know, there is no critical mass. It will be illegal in states until the state decides to legalize it or decriminalize it. And that's one of the problems that this Supreme Court in particular is that we're dealing with, is because they're not playing nice with the Commerce Clause on this. You know, they're literally doing everything with the Commerce Clause in order to make it as difficult as possible for we, the people, to make these decisions, enact what it is we need for whatever reason we need to. It'll be illegal in the state of Idaho right up until the last. You know, the best we can hope for in some cases is medical regulation. You know, we're going to see that, and that's simply the inverse of what happened. San Francisco.
What are the chances that President Poopy Pants and this current sitting seat, what are the chances that they would actually take marijuana off of the Schedule 1?
Very
zero.
Substances Act. What do you think, Nate?
I said very slim. I mean, there'd have to be a reason for them to do it, and it wouldn't be for
They already promised it. What are you talking about?
They lied.
They already promised it in the last election, man. That was one of the main things that Kamala Harris sat there and said, that we're going to do this. And this is a promise that we're making, and they haven't touched it for a whole election cycle. They should have touched it before 2020 to get
Johnny,
elected.
they also promised $2,000 check.
Right. So I mean,
yes.
There's a whole bunch of
Where's
shit.
my
I don't have any
$2,000?
They
faith
promise
in
us a
them
lot of
doing
check
shit.
Biden.
So really quickly, what I want to do is there are some faces that the KRTD audience, have seen before or may not recognize, So I want to give those three. We have three, additional shows here, the chance to kind of tell people about what they're doing on their shows and introduce themselves to our audience, or reintroduce themselves, I guess, in Warren's case, because I think you've been on Watt a couple times, so they know you. But let's go ahead, Brandy. Why don't you tell them about your show?
Well, I've been covering some of the geopolitics, and now I'm breaking off on my own, about to start my own YouTube stream, and I'll probably cover both state, local, national, and geopolitics. I mean, there's so much to cover.
Absolutely. Ed?
I'm Ed Heller. I am a deep dish pizza enthusiast. I have a website called realdeepdish.com. And I'm also the Tuesday night host of the channel Chicago Corner. We have a channel on YouTube if you want to follow Chicago Corner. We've got a website at chicagocornertv.com. We like to cover stories going on in Chicago, but we also like to give a Chicago perspective to stories happening nationally and around the world. And so it's nice to be able to give a perspective that maybe you're not going to see in mainstream media, based on stories that we hear about or things happening in the city and around the world.
Thank you. What about you, Mr. Presidential Candidate?
I have a name, Shane.
Okay.
It's Uncle Mundus.
I get more respect in the crack house. I really do.
That's right. The
Come on, let's talk about your show.
All right. Let's see if I can quit it. I gotta see if I can remember it. All right, so there's like 3 of these fuckers, right? So there's Extra Bulla on Mondays, which is kind of a conversation show with lucky suckers that I can find to get on the show. There's the Secret Show where we talk about like chocolate penises and stuff like that, some weird shit in the middle of the night with Jimi. And then there's Mundus Ultra on Sundays, where we talk about UFOs and Bigfoot and shit. And then I throw in some gaming every once in a while.
Which one's bong hits for tips? Which one's bong hits for tips?
That's what.
Bong hips for tips.
That's my show, yeah. But I think Warren's had some bong rips today, sounds like.
Tips. They don't tip you.
I can't find the way to point it correctly. What is going on? I'm
it's the Lord's Day.
You have to point in the opposite direction on this show.
I'm lost.
Like I have to point to my right to be pointing to the left so that we're pointing at Uncle Warren.
I got
trying to do
I
it
started pointing.
I'm so
I think
messed.
everybody here is feds. Everybody's a fed. Fed.
You went the fed route.
Excuse me, sir. I am a narc, not a fed.
It's whack a fed.
Sir.
Excuse me, sir. I am a birding person. Okay.
This is the Lord's Day.
Well, I'm a pizza fed. I'm a pizza fed. There you go. Pizza fed.
I had pizza today too. How many people had pizza today? That's hilarious.
I can't eat.
I had half a leftover calzone. Does that count?
Ed,
Yeah.
Come on. You didn't have any pizza, Ed? Come on.
I had pizza yesterday.
Oh,
Why
nice.
can't you have
Okay.
pizza today?
Nice.
I drank the clearest.
Shane, breaking news.
Brandy.
There's this show that comes on Friday nights. I have to introduce, since I'm on here, there's this show that comes on Friday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time called The Peasants Podcast with yours truly, Hi Yona with the lower cast, where it's filled with all types of weeds and smoking and music's playing and more journalism. I've hooked up with Richard Grove and Tony Myers over at the Grand Theft World Autonomy Network there, and doing writing and stuff. And I still need to get back. I've got like 3 different Yona history rhymes on my WordPress that I need to get over to KRTD. I've been working myself to death and got all kinds of kids and stuff, and so it's really overwhelming. Just living day to day, but that's why I at least try to keep up with the Peasants Podcast to give the perspective of what I think. I think the majority of Americans are, kind of slogging it through and living paycheck to paycheck or month to month, and it's harder and harder to save wealth. It's going to be even harder if there's no cash and you have, digital money that's going to expire if you don't spend it fast enough. How are you supposed to ever save wealth? But anyway, that's all.
I think we're a little away from that. It's probably not going to happen in the next year or so. Probably got about 3 or 4 years before that happens.
I was going to tell Jimmy earlier that in the syrup, they make a French vanilla that you can mix with coffee as well.
I don't do I don't do any vanilla. Warren
You
knows.
don't like vanilla? I like vanilla.
Should I say it? Okay. So if you look up French or vanilla extract, they say, now I'm not for sure if it's real or not, but I believe it is, so I just say it is.
Beaver glands, yeah.
Yes.
Beaver glands.
Yeah. So I won't touch it. That's so gross.
But you can get actually natural vanilla. You don't have to get the vanilla from the glands of a beaver's ass.
I'm a regular shopper though, so I just get, if I get vanilla, I'm just gonna grab whatever's cheapest at the store, and I'm not gonna chance it.
Stay away from vanilla.
Yeah, exactly. I don't touch vanilla.
Is that what the
I tell you, Uncle, don't knock it, buddy. Tain't nothing like artificial vanilla.
So, we've covered most of the questions except for what's everybody's favorite strain.
Oh, well, really quick, actually, hold on. Wait, Brandy, is this the kind that you have? Because, of course you're going to do it. So this is the cherry limeade one that I have. Okay, so it's close. Yeah. Well, it's not the same brand, but you
I
got
have
the
a
syrup
smaller bottle.
Wow.
Okay, that makes sense.
Wow.
So yeah, I've got the same thing. It's just I've got like a lot of it, but I think I'm gonna get a Sprite and probably try it out because I still have some left. So
yeah, that's how I like mine.
Just take a swig of that. And
I can't. It literally tastes like straight up Robitussin when it's by itself. It's
so anybody drink Robitussin? What's wrong with a good old swig of Robitussin?
That is the worst. Plus, I have to take like 150 milligrams just to taste anything, and that's a lot.
Robitussin stops the cussing and the fussing, right?
I bet that mixes really well with the Kentucky bourbon. Hello, what?
Ooh, put some alcohol in there too? No, you'd fuck yourself up.
You need to be careful going down this road, Uncle, because best way to chill out a kid is whiskey on the gums, take care of that teething.
That's what happened with us. Dad, the old man did that. He put the whiskey on the gums when we were teething. That's OG, man. That's when I got my first taste.
They always thought it numbed the gums, but what it was doing was getting you all toasted. Yeah.
Yo.
Right.
You're the happy babies.
Dad juicing up those with AA batteries. Ancient age, buddy.
All right, go ahead, Shane. Ask your question.
All right, so does everybody have a favorite strain, or do you just want to have whatever's on the table?
There's a favorite for me, and I always make sure to have it on 420, and that would be Gorilla Glue. Anyway,
Gorilla Glue, nice.
Everybody
Go
here's
ahead,
talking
Brandy.
about their favorite strain. You're out there and about. You're able to go into the dispensary, pick your choice. Look at the collars. Look at the way they sparkle under the light. Little incandescents, all pretty and shiny. Here in Idaho, it's weed.
Yeah.
What kind of weed is it? It's weed.
You got any
Deal with
weed? Yeah, I got weed. What kind of weed? I got this kind of weed. I got green weed. Take the weed or don't take the weed.
Yeah.
Aww.
All right, here's my favorite strain.
Ooh, really?
Wow. Wow.
That reminds me of high school.
Hey Ed, marinara legal.
Legalize
I think it really
marinara.
depends on your mood and what kind of high you want, because the strain is typically going to reflect whether it's sativa or indica. And a lot of people, I think my age, are into the indica because it's the in the couch, it's the relaxed, it's the high, it's the head high. You want to feel high, and the indica is more, you're going to go out to the park and you want to be high and you want to have your senses about you still or something, taking your dog to the park or something, and you don't necessarily, or maybe going to work, sorry folks, people get high when they go to work, just deal with it.
So,
and you want to have your mind about you. You don't want to be all, and you want to be high though. So you might do some sativa, but it just depends on the mood, maybe time of day, what you're getting ready to do afterwards. Some people mix it up. Some people smoke sativa in the morning and smoke indica in the evening.
Agreed.
So I just got to tell a quick story because I'm not high a lot. I like to get high.
I like to think that when it's like my brain is on 8.
Yeah. So I like to get high, but I drink
go ahead.
more than I drink more than I smoke. Sorry, I'm the opposite of Johnny. I drink and I really don't smoke. So, but when I do smoke, the last time I smoked, or the third to last time I smoked, I was in a fucking playground at 2 a.m. with my best friend, and I had like 5 puffs, and I'm like, I don't feel anything. And
Great.
And then suddenly we're fucking sliding down the slides, on the monkey bars, going down this way. And then I go, I'm hungry. And I want to go eat. So we fucking go to Popeyes. And I go into Popeyes and I'm like trying to order off the KFC menu. And I'm like, why don't you know what I'm talking about? I want the thing with a lot of other things because I'm really hungry.
I want the original recipe. Sir, this is a Popeyes.
So,
sorry, sir, this is a Wendy's.
Anyway, I end up with like fucking 30 pieces of fucking chicken, all different fucking pieces, fucking chicken tenders.
Quit cussing so much. You're gonna get your channel knocked down.
Right. All kinds of sides. Anyway, I'm eating that. And as I'm eating, I'm telling my friend, I'm like, there's a really good Italian restaurant a bus ride away. And we should go head up to the Italian restaurant. He's like, aren't we eating right now? I'm like, we are eating right now.
But that's just enough to get us over to the restaurant.
That's not later.
Right. So I'm like,
by the time we get to the restaurant, I'll be hungry.
So we get on the bus and we're on our way to the restaurant. And
that makes me think of the Blues Brothers when they go in and he orders 4 whole fried chickens and a Coke, and the other one orders the 2 pieces of toast, light toasted. Rest in peace, Jake and Elwood Blues. Anyways,
we get on the bus over to the restaurant, but I'm so high, I'm taking the bus on the wrong side of the street, going the other direction, and then I get off within 15 minutes. I'm like, where's the restaurant? And I'm like, oh, I went on the wrong bus. And then I went back, and then I'm like, let's try this again. And then I got on a different bus. I can't remember the rest of it because I was so high. But at the end, I don't think I ended up getting my Italian food at the end of the day. I was very disappointed. But when I opened my wallet, when I sobered up, there was money missing. And then I saw a whole bunch of receipts for food from a corner store, for the Popeye.
He was eating on his way home, stopping after he was done. It was just a little. It was like breadcrumbs, getting him from one store to the next.
So I had 7 receipts in my wallet instead of all my cash, and all the receipts were from different food places. Not all restaurants, only one restaurant, the Popeyes, because I could never find the next restaurant. But I had a whole bunch of receipts for different food.
I think the key thing here to recognize is that you kept your receipts.
Yeah.
Who the hell keeps their receipts for little food that they buy at a corner store, especially when they're stoned?
They're still in my old wallet. I used
Now, Shane, if you had been live streaming around the time where you had done this, you could have written those off as expenses and taken the taxes off when you filed your taxes.
Right. But anyway, I ended up spending. Who wants to guess how much I spent on food?
He's got the receipts, Ed. He still can. He still can.
Oh, that's
Who wants
true.
to take a guess? Who wants to
$100.
guess? How much?
$100.
More.
Oh, I'm going to say 300.
No.
$322.
$185, and that's my final offer, Paul Parker.
I just have this
Oh
great
my
visual
gosh.
in my head now, Shane. It's of you basically taking a bus with this big paper bucket of chicken, right? And then you get off the bus, and every stop you go and buy something else, and then you get back on the bus. But every time you're back on the bus, you've got the big paper bucket of chicken, and then every stop that you make, the chicken's in one arm, and you're just adding more things to there. You got your receipts in your pocket. You get home, there's still a bucket half full of chicken.
That's pretty accurate. And my friend hardly ate anything for some reason, but I kept eating.
Well, because your friend was probably
super,
used to and being normal and just like grabbed a bite to eat. Because people who get high regularly don't do what you just did.
That's like extreme munchies there. That's impressive, really.
I didn't even eat everything.
$324 worth of chicken. That better be some good chicken.
I came home with 7 bags of chips that I didn't eat. I just had bought them, and I didn't remember buying them. They were just in a grocery bag, and I bought them.
Well, sometimes those are emergency chips, just in case you run out of chicken between stops.
Right. Well, that's what they always say. Don't get stowed before you go to grocery shopping and stuff.
That's the worst thing you can do.
Imagine.
Is be hungry.
I mean,
Jimmy,
this is a gateway. This is a gateway
Jesus
to the
Christ, you'd have
munchies right
everything
now.
But after that, I never got that high again because I thought that I wasn't high, and I'm like, this isn't working. I went, this weed doesn't work. It's defective. And then suddenly I'm sliding down the slide.
Yeah.
Where, $350 in food.
$322.
What is that? Like about 12,000 calories, 13,000 calories? I mean, it's not a light dining night.
I brought a lot of it home. I just ended up buying it. It wasn't even that I ate it.
This is not a Wendy's.
I just ended up buying it.
What happened, guys? You guys know this. Well, maybe, Joe, you don't smoke. But here's what happened. Is his brain said, I want. So every time he got to a place, he wanted something different. But by the time he had bought it, he was eating something else. His craving was actually full, but his brain stepped kicking off in this ADD stoned manner of munchies saying, I want this. And you see something in the aisle and go, I need to have that. So he just grabs it because he goes, that would be really freaking good if I could eat that right now. But he's stuffing his face with half the shit he already has in the other hand. So he can't get to the other stuff he bought that his brain is telling him is really good if you can get to eating it.
Exactly.
I don't think you could have nailed that any better. So
you got it. You got it exactly.
Yeah,
it's exactly.
I like that with cheese.
Yeah. Johnny knows. Johnny knows. God gave you 2 hands so you can eat one.
I missed my money at the end of the night. That's all I'll say.
I got an eating problem, 2 hands and only 1 mouth.
So, yeah, that was my maybe 3rd time getting high. Because I didn't get high a lot. I drank. So when I got high, it was weird for me.
Well, you should only take like a hit. Like, especially nowadays, weed. I mean, if you don't smoke, a hit should be all you need. A lot of people, that's all they need after work. I mean, she's over there smoking a whole joint, but she smokes all day long. Right?
Well, that's different.
If she went to work 8 hours a day where she couldn't smoke, she couldn't even go on a break and smoke, she probably would come home and take a couple hits and be like, whoo, yeah. Because I know when I worked, and was gone, I could take a couple hits when I came home, and that was like enough for like the rest of the night, man. I was like,
what
wow,
happened
this
was
is a cheap high. I love it.
I took a hit. And then I said, this doesn't work. So I took another hit.
Right.
And
well,
I said it didn't
was
work.
Your inexperience is that you thought, I had a friend that did that with acid. She thought that after she took a hit that it wasn't doing nothing. And so she had to have another one. And I said, you got to give it some time. And she's, no, it's not doing anything. And then she ended up taking like 4 hits. And by the time it finally caught up to her, she was out of, I mean, not dangerously out of it, but she went to her house to get something, and she came back with a movie of Dory. Like she, it was like something stupid like that. Like she totally got lost in her brain. And what was funny is she was just like Dory, real scattered and everything. And then we just started laughing about it. But no, I mean, I've seen people do that, especially young people. My kids' friends and stuff who were experimenting when they were younger. I'm not stupid. I was one of those parents that told my kid, don't hide the shit from me. I don't want you going around my back lying to me. I know what you're doing. I want to know what you're doing. And he came to me and asked me about doing Molly. And he came to me and asked me about doing other things. And I told him to stay away from Molly. I said, it's so mixed right now, has fentanyl, things like that. And he didn't do any, so by building that trust and relationship with him, I was able to help him, stick in like the weed lane and not drink and not do other drugs that could be more harmful to him.
Right.
That's
exactly.
one of the things about the trust thing. Remember in the 80s, we went through the whole DARE. This is your brain on drugs, and they were selling marijuana as this, path to the end of the world and evil. And it's like there was an entire generation who remembers smoking the stuff in school. We're going
right. My uncle, people on lunch, exactly.
Yeah.
There's
what kind of BS you trying to feed me, man?
It was a whole new
if
era
I can't
of
trust you about this, if I can't trust, what can I trust you about, man?
Yeah.
I thought it was devil weed in junior college when it was 89, right? So I was still scared by Nancy Reagan, and a buddy of mine had a joint. It was the first time I'd ever been it was first contact with weed, right? And I said, no, I can't smoke that. That's evil. That'll do bad things. But then like 4 years later, I tried it with some buddies at a TV station I was working at, and I was like, oh, you're an angel instead. You're not the devil. So, yeah. It's all about time and place and experience. And some people are allergic to it. I feel sorry for people who are allergic.
Right, yeah. No, and my thing with it is I don't notice that it takes a minute for shit to take its effect. Like, the gummies. I don't know if anybody's done the gummies. Like,
that takes even longer. Yeah,
it does. So I was sitting in the park with some friends, and I bought some gummies from the weed truck in Manhattan, which we had brought over to the park. And I'm like, I take a bite. This isn't working. I take another bite. This still isn't working. I take another bite, and suddenly I've eaten 2 whole gummies.
Oh boy!
And I'm like, this doesn't work. And then 15 minutes later, I'm running, and I'm like acting all crazy, and my friend, he's like, I told you not to eat that whole thing. And I'm like, no, I told you that I was going to eat this whole thing. And
so the stories like that are
Bad
absolutely.
Tuesday.
My mother
Mhm.
at 65, living with my sister and her boyfriend. My sister and her boyfriend made some brownies. Let it sit on the kitchen counter to cool and chill. My mother grazes brownies. So every time she walked by, she'd grab a little chunk and take a bite. About half the pan down.
Oh no.
She's going, I'm dying. I'm dying. My heart's beating too fast. I'm dying.
Okay, I got a Thanksgiving story for you. I was living on my own my senior year. Well, one of my roommates kept me up all night the night before drinking, so I was having to make sure she behaved herself and didn't do anything to hurt herself. So I go over to my aunt and uncle's for Thanksgiving the next day, and we're sitting there eating turkey. And then my uncle breaks out a joint, and we start smoking. No sleep, the turkey, and the weed. I get up to go to the bathroom, my aunt and uncle's bathroom. Their washer and dryer's in there. I laid down on top of the washer and dryer and fell asleep. Finally, about 30 minutes later, they woke me up, and I'd not put my skirt back on. So I started to walk out of the bathroom with just my t-shirt and underwear because I was so stoned and tired.
Oh my God.
That's
But
great.
I mean, look, how bad is that? Look, I've sat and listened to stories in meetings.
Yeah,
man.
that's not that bad.
Exactly. When we talk some of these stories, even Shane's story, what was the worst that came of his experience was he spent a little too much money on food that he either ate or he took home. So when we're talking about the negative effects of pot, really, like if he would have gotten drunk on the bus, he could have gotten hurt, fallen, stumbled over, done any number of things to hurt himself. Because alcohol by far has a
So
much
much
worse negative impact on society. And this speaks from personal experience and what I've studied in school through psychology and social psychology and everything else. It's just worse. The demographics for it, the statistics for it, far outweigh anything that pot could ever do to anybody. And none of the stories that any of us have told as far as like silly things that we've done or anything are really harmful. Has anybody gotten in a fight with people because you've been stoned? No. Imagine a bunch of a room full of stoned people in a bar having a disagreement. Like, it's not going far. You're not going to
5
see
minutes later, it's like,
hand
dude,
swinging.
I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to
Fight all of you.
So I just think I wish our society it was reversed. If you imagine like people felt the way they feel about pot, about alcohol, and it was taboo. And pot was the thing that we had stores and everybody could go buy. And, it was like, hey, man, you want to come over and have a barbecue and spark some Bud, and that was just the regular Bud wasn't a drink, Budweiser. It was Bud, regular Bud. If we lived in a society like that, I just think we'd have a completely different outlook on everything, as far as community and everything else.
So I got one more for you guys. So you all, so I don't know what you called it back in your day, that right now when you drink and you smoke, we call it crossfaded. We call it getting crossfaded. I don't know what you guys used to call it.
Getting fucked up.
Yeah.
Right now we call it crossfaded.
And you always smoke before you drank.
Yeah, you smoke before you drink. You don't drink before you smoke.
So,
we just used to call it something you don't do. That's it.
So anyway, I'm sitting on my deck with a friend of mine, and we're smoking, we're drinking, and I'm having edibles also. So I'm smoking, drinking, edibles, just sucking around, and I think I had maybe 5 drinks, maybe 10 puffs.
Just like all in all the time. Eats everything, drinks everything.
Yeah. I bet when you lay down and closed your eyes, you felt like you were on a roller coaster.
10 puffs, and I had an entire chocolate Trips Ahoy, I think they call it. The Trips Ahoy, I had the entire thing. So then we're just calling people on my phone, people we went to school with, and fucking around. And I'm like, I don't remember anything I said to them, but the only thing I remember is we're talking to this one girl from school who we went to school with. I called her. We were just hanging, she was there, but she wasn't because like we were on a video call with her. So the only thing I remember, and she had to tell me this, is I just started throwing up. And I don't, but I threw up, and then I got up, and I'm like, and then I had a drink, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is alcohol, not water. And I'm like, that's not what I need right now because I just threw up as I'm gulping the bottle down. And then I'm like, let me run and get some water. And on my way to get water, I throw up again. Because I thought the alcohol was water because it was in a clear bottle. And I'm so hooked up. I don't know what I'm looking at.
Jesus. You could have canceled all that workout, just take mushrooms and done the same thing.
Yeah.
Make it easy on yourself. Eat one little bar and you'd be done for about 6 hours.
Yep.
So I collapsed, and not like collapsed, but like when I went to sleep, I did not wake up for 12 hours. And the next day at work was shit.
I bet.
Yeah.
This is one of those. This is why you don't drink and get crossfaded. Without experience, man.
Well, not only that, I've never had a good experience with that either. I've fallen out of my friend's pickup. We'd be in the bar drinking, playing foosball, whatever. And hey man, let's go out, go out to his truck, spark up a big bowl. Of course, he's got the most dank shit in the world, right? And you've been drinking a few hours, and then open the door, boom, head just fell right out. I fell right on my face. I mean, that's because I've been drinking, and he gives me, you don't do that. You just don't. I was an adult. I was old enough. I wasn't even a kid. It's just stuff you don't do, like Jimmy said.
But I also, Johnny, I think you're right, because when I drink, I feel like I have less of my faculties than when I'm high, because I was at a wedding and I was drunk, and I was calling a taxi to come and pick, me and my family up. We were at the wedding, and I'm screaming at them. They're like, you want us to come out? No, I want you to come in 3.5 hours because I'm not ready yet. And they thought I was nuts.
Whoa.
And they never came to pick us up. I had to call them back and say, yeah, I'm ready for you guys now. They're like, oh, okay. I thought you were just prank calling us. And I almost didn't have a ride home that night because I lost all my faculties. But when I get high and it's just high, I feel like I have more of my faculties than when I'm drunk.
Well, the other thing is you don't really have a good comparison, Shane, if we may adult here a little bit, because, you got completely plastered from not really being ever high. And then, I hardly do it. And then you're like, I smoked a pound of weed and that's going to mess anybody up.
Yeah, no, it is. But I feel like
it's going to make you lose your faculties and have a wet, buzzy. I puked on just smoking pot before when I was a kid. When I was 11, they gave me one of my uncle's friends came over with this brown and red shit from Mexico, and it looked like brown and red. It was but that shit, whoo! Well, they could only get through a half a joint. These were grown adults who smoked multiple joints a day. And 3 of them could only get through half a joint, and they were wasted. And so they let me have the leftovers. I'm sitting there playing Atari 5600. I smoke a few hits of that, and I've been eating cookies, those oatmeal cookie, the ones with the frosting on them.
Mm-hmm.
I've been eating them like crazy, and that got me so messed up. I had to run to the bathroom, and I was just puking up like oatmeal. Those cookies. So you can get it, if your system isn't set for it and what you've been eating or whatever, if you overdo it. And one of my kids' friends did the same thing. They gave him a huge, 3-foot bong rip, and he hadn't been smoking, and he got paranoid, and I'm going to go home. I'm like, no, you're not going home. This is the last thing you need is to go home. Just shut the fuck up, sit down, and give us time. You'll be better. And then he never really wanted to touch it anymore after that. Why? Because his friends mistreated him and messed up his experience and didn't let him experience it on his own terms, and so you've done that to yourself.
I have, but I also feel like
don't eat both of those, and you're just like, I'm gonna do whatever I want. Pop them both in. And
no, but the worst that pot has done to me is it's made me hungry and made me spend some money.
Right.
When it comes to drinking, I'm worried. I'm going through my phone after I've drank because I don't drink a lot, but when I don't drink often, but when I drink, I drink. So when I finish drinking, I look at my phone. I'm like, did I call? Because I'm like, oh great, I made phone calls. Did I call anybody important? Did I call any of these politicians I know? Who the fuck did I call?
I would suggest you don't drink if when you drink, you drink. Okay? No, I'm serious. Because I've been in this for a long time. And if you can't just go have a couple beers or a couple drinks, whatever it is you like to have, and all you do is slam.
Well, no. When I drink by myself, I'll have 2 drinks. When I drink with my friends, I'll have 6, 7 drinks.
But that doesn't make any sense, Shane. You're going out with your friends to have fun, and you get so freaking wasted that you can't even function. You turn your brain to mush. That makes
you guys are really telling this to a 22-year-old, expecting him to listen to you.
I know. He's our friend. What am I supposed to do? We're mentors. What am I
Johnny,
supposed to
do? I remember.
You gotta let him figure it out for himself.
20s.
It's the only way.
I understand it.
But like, I can go 6 months without having. Like, I don't think I've had a drink in 4 months. I don't really.
It's a thing where you get so distracted by just being out and doing something that you're accidentally binge drinking because you got to have a bottle in your hand and you just keep drinking it and you're not pacing yourself.
That's exactly right.
Once you realize that you're doing it, you find ways to break it up a little bit. You switch to water.
Switch to something else in
switch
between.
to a soft drink. Or just slow down, put the beer down for a little while. And if you communicate to some of the bartenders, they'll actually try and help you with that. You let them know you're trying to pace yourself.
Well, you do, And
start off with there is a saying. There is a saying though. The liquor before beer, you're in the clear. Beer before liquor, you get even sicker. So if once you get to the bar, if you want to have a good time, have like 1 or 2 shots right when you get there. That way you've got that buzz going and you're hanging out with your friends. And then ask for a couple of beers after that and have some beers. That way you're not getting that super buzz anymore, but you're keeping it on a mellow. Now the opposite that's going to get you sick is like having a couple beers and then at the end of the night taking a couple shots. You're going to get yourself sick. You're going to throw up. You're not going to feel any better. So have those shots at first. Find a couple beers that you can enjoy. That way you've got your mellowness to keep you going throughout the night.
Resource management, Shane. Resource management. You got it.
The only thing, I don't get sick when I drink unless I get crossfaded.
You don't do that. That's bad. If you're going to do that, what you need to do is you need to smoke weed first and then drink, because the weed is going to stop you from drinking so much. If you drink first and then smoke, you're not going to know how much you're smoking. You're going to overdo it, and that's what's going to give you the zoomies. And you don't want any of that stuff. That's what you're the roller coaster ride with your eyes closed, throwing up. So smoke first if you're going to do it. Don't do it after you've already drank. That is the number one thing that's going to make you throw up.
And it's so funny that is like
this is not a beer.
I can't hear you, Johnny. Oh, there you go. I can hear you now. Sorry.
The funny thing about that is it is indisputable. Everybody's head is going, yes. Right. We all know over years and years of practice, we all know that's the order of operation. It's like math. Like you can't go the wrong way or you have bad things happen. It doesn't compute.
Right.
This is one of these things that we actually need to talk about, because as we start seeing more and more legalization, more and more recreational access to a variety of drugs. We're not just talking marijuana, cannabis and beer. We see people already talking about blends using cannabis beer, THC or CBD content, with the 8% alcohol. You're looking at people who actually create tinctures using 80%, of opiate and marijuana blend. So we're starting to see the return of these tinctures, these blends, these cocktails, drug cocktails. You're talking about your mix of liquor, your opium, your marijuana, and all of these used to be cocaine. So old Methuselah's, snake bite, back in 1880, where it was literally this cocktail of stuff. So how do you control it? How do you manage it? What are your expectations when you're looking at a drug cocktail and you're going, this is the blend that works for me? Or you're trying to say, well, how do I talk about integrate Molly into my regular routine? Do I want to handle the microdose, the mushrooms, the things like, what are we doing?
Right.
Well, I think it starts, Joe, with that open communication. Like I said, I'll brag about it. What happened with my kid and everything, and the openness that we had between us. And, like I said, he's going to be 23 in June, but, he's smoked pretty much since he was 15, and I knew about it. And he had a pretty healthy relationship with other drugs. He told me when he tried other things like meth and coke and things like that. And I'm not going to stop him, just like I couldn't stop him from having sex. They'll find a bush, they'll find a room, they'll find under the stairs. They're going to do it. So best to be responsible and, get birth control, get things, condoms, those types of things, right? You don't hide those discussions. So I think the key is having the discussions like we're having with Shane. It's a good example of saying, hey, don't drink and get wasted and then try to get high. You'll always get sick that way. It'll always be bad for you. Follow certain rules and get to know things. Like if you're going to experiment with something, know that you have to walk into it like working out. You don't just go and start lifting the heaviest freaking weights, because the next day, if you've ever done that, you're going to be sore as hell for like 4 or 5 days to a week. You're not going to be able to touch your titties because you tried to bench it the max after never working out, right? So
and of course, one of the other things is always go into it with a good partner.
Yes, always having
never
somebody
get high with someone
buddy.
Is gonna mess with you. Never.
A trip buddy, like in acid, they call it a trip buddy, and that's something if you're experimenting and if you want to get to know something, like get to know a drug, like say Shane, you're saying, hey, you know what, maybe pot might help me in one way or another. People have talked about it and I'm interested in it, but I've had these experiences that have always gotten me all messed up. So how can I manage that where I'm not just doing that? And so you take control of that and you say, okay, I'm just going to have a small dose and that's all I'm going to do. And I'm going to see how it makes me feel. I don't care if I don't feel a certain way for half an hour, an hour. The whole test is how this one thing makes me feel or how that one thing makes me feel. And then I'm just going to wade that out. If it takes 6 hours until I feel normal again, then I'm just going to see. I don't need to feel wasted and then compare it to not being wasted. I need to see what my equilibrium is, and maybe because just like getting drunk, there's multiple stages of being drunk. There's the little buzz, and then there's the giggly Johnny. Everybody's laughing. I love you. The slobbering drunk, right? There's different stages that your mind goes through with the different effects of drugs and the different levels. So the same thing will happen with any drug that you're doing. And you have to figure out I know people who are so insane. They take little chocolate chunks of the psychedelics, the chocolate bars that are this big that you eat as like a whole hit and it gives you a trip. They eat a little chocolate chunk of that every day. What the hell does that do for you? I want a trip. But I do know what it is because when I was a senior, I used to take a quarter hit of acid every day for a period of time. While I had access to it. And that was like waking up. It was like coffee. I wasn't tripping every day because it builds up a half-life, and I could take a half a hit, go to work, have a good time, felt good. And I wasn't like, seeing monsters and shadows. If I wanted to really, really, really trip, I'd have to do 4 or 5 hits or something like that to really have an experience. But I think just starting to learn how something affects you, or honestly, and I know this might sound harsh, if you're not going to take that kind of responsibility, I don't think you need to be fucking with it.
Well, here's, like I said, I can go 6. Don't think I've had any pot in 9 months. You know, I know that sounds crazy for you.
No, it's not crazy. What's going to happen though is when you go out with your friends, somebody's going to have some pot. You're going to do it again. You're going to have another bad experience because you're
now I have a rule. Well, I didn't tell you what happened after all those stories. Now I have a rule when I go out with my friends and I have pot, I only have 2 or 3 hits. I don't have 6 hits. I don't have 7 hits because when I have more than 3 hits, I end up spending all kinds of money on food and getting all fucked up. So I ended up saying 3 hits is my max, and I'll spread them out throughout the night. You know.
All right. Let's keep it going.
Can I make a suggestion for Shane though? Yes, when you know you're going to go out and you're going to take a couple hits, put a little Post-it note or a sticker on the inside of your wallet that just says no.
Yeah, no, that's
it just reminds you, look, dude, it's like you say, look, man, 1 taco, not 12, not a bucket of chicken. Whatever it takes to put it in the back of your head that like you open your wallet. No. Oh, that's right. I told myself not to do this again.
And then you'll remember this conversation, so it'll go through your head too, and you'll be like, oh yeah, all those guys told me this would happen, so I don't want to do it. And that will help you manage yourself. It actually is true.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Exactly. So, yeah. And then, Yona, I know you had a story you wanted to share with us, and I know, Ed, you're about to leave us. Do you want to remind everybody where they can find you?
I'm running out of steam, but I'm glad I got to chime in on this conversation tonight and at least talk a little bit about munchies because, you know, that marijuana is a gateway to cheese fries. But everybody can find me.
Chicago pizza!
Yes, Chicago has 4 styles of pizza, if you didn't know. You can find out more information about that at realdeepdish.com, and it teaches you how to make those styles of pizza at home. You can also find me on Chicago Corner Tuesday nights at 7:30 p.m. Central. Follow and please subscribe to the Chicago Corner channel on YouTube, and check us out at chicagocornertv.com.
Okay.
Right on, brother.
Thanks for joining us tonight, Ed, and thanks for representing Chicago Corner and pizza.
Right. Here. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, Ed.
We've all been telling our stories. Let's hear Yona's.
All right, say that again. What?
Well, wait, what?
You said you had a story.
Well, the story from Yona is here. Yes, the story is about the Geo Metro XFI hatchback. Long ago, in a time long ago in a galaxy far, far away in Dagobah County, Kentucky, at about 2 o'clock in the morning, under the light of the moon, there was the Yona with the long knife in hand, harvesting into the hefty bags. Big bushels of Idaho truck contents, right, Joe? Idaho truckers contents. Big bushels of wheat. Now, for those that don't know, the Geo Metro XFI hatchback is basically a clown car, right? But 53 miles to the gallon. So, you know, laugh at the little 12-inch wheels all you want. I mean, I might have to prime the fuel bulb 10 times to get it to start, but, you know, it's great on gas, 3-cylinder. So we finally get all of the stuff gathered there to make the voyage from planet Dagobah over to planet, we'll call it County Mary Jane. Anyways, it was on a far distant part of the galaxy known as Medlock's Creek. Anyways, so there we are, and we've got to get it from one place to another, and that's crossing 4 other counties, and it was illegal and still is. So this is in a fictional place, of course, Star Wars, Yoda type stuff. And so very, very nervous, but luckily there's all these 1-lane gravel roads where you have to ford the creeks and stuff. The funniest part was we went to ford one of the creeks, and mind you, we couldn't actually get the hatchback all the way closed. We had to take hay baling twine and pull it down. So I could only imagine if I'd gotten pulled over by the police, just run. Just run. you're done for, son. Yeah, I mean, it
Geo,
looked like brontosaurus ribs hanging out of the Flintstone mobile. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, so we go to Ford this morning, and literally, I thought we were going to have to take some of the big bushels of weed and use them as oars to paddle to the other shore because it floated. It was deep enough. All of a sudden, it just bobbed up like a cork, and I thought, "Oh shit! What are we going to do?" So we both get out and put our legs out the door, and the water's not even like 6 inches deep, man. So we just literally just walked the little clown car to the other side and got water in the floorboard. And anyway, so I finally get home that morning. My mom says, "Hey, I need to borrow your car to run to the store." She's like, "Why is the carpet wet and soggy? And good God, what's that smell? Did you all hit a skunk?" Yes, it was a skunk, Mom. That was the talk about white knuckle. Every single car I saw, I'm like, should we pull off the road and start running? Anyways, good times. It was fun on that side of the galaxy. Anyways,
fun. All right, we're getting close.
That's so funny. Yeah. So when I was a kid, my mom took us to church one morning, and at the time I didn't know what weed smelled like or anything like that. And so I asked my mom, I'm like, "What is that smell?" And she's like, "Oh, it's just a skunk." And at the time we were living in the desert, I didn't think about whether skunks lived in that area or not. But I always remembered that, like, that's crazy. I actually got to smell a skunk going to church one day. And when I grew up a little bit older and I actually started like smelling what weed was, it finally hit me, like, probably just a couple of years ago, like, oh my God, my mom fucking lied to me. Somebody was smoking at the church and my mom told me as they were skunks, because there's no fucking skunks out in the goddamn desert. They don't live out there. I got 2 skunks living underneath my house right now in the mountains. They don't live in the desert.
I love that song by Ray Stevens, Jimmy. You know what I'm saying? That's when the skunk went berserk in that little California church. Everybody was standing up saying hallelujah. Woo-hoo!
Right. I know. Go ahead. Sorry, Shane. I just had to say that.
No, that's fine. We're well over 2 hours. We're about 2 hours, guys. So before we go,
I got to jump off here. I got my brother in studio here. We're laying down tracks. It's time to record.
I just want to
guitar and piano.
So, Yona, since you're going to be the first one to go, you want to remind everybody about your podcast and where they can find you before you get on?
Yes, Peasants Podcast. Hi, Yona with the lower cast. You know, I had my YouTube channel that I started in 2006, and that had over 500 songs and over 300 subscribers, and that got yeeted 6 months ago. So I went to my second channel, which got yeeted over a month and a half ago, and I'd gotten that one built up to 150 subscribers and had over 100 songs uploaded there. Then I put up my third channel, and they yeeted that within 2 weeks before I could even get 20 songs on there. So I'm on the Odyssey, and for the if you occasionally don a MAGA hat, I don't judge. You can catch me on Rumble too. And there's what's the other one that I record? BitChute. I put my stuff on BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey, and actually Facebook, because I still like to reach out and talk to Nana and Peepaw.
Thanks for joining us tonight, Yona.
Thank you, Yona.
It's a pleasure being with you guys always, Shane. And I'll keep in touch. I am finally going to release those other 3 articles I've done for the History Rhymes with Yona.
Excellent.
History doesn't always repeat itself, but it rhymes, Shane. Love you guys. Talk safety. Ways dolly gay.
Love you, brother.
All right. So, Warren, Mr. Presidential Candidate, can you tell everybody about your show one more time, or are you too high to remember?
This show has been very invasive of my privacy. I just want to let you know this right up the bat. And I love it. You dirty little minxes. You're ferreting into my life. I love it. Your dirty little hands. Especially yours, Shane. The little Lord of the Rings prince you are.
Who's running against? I wonder who's running against you.
Crackheads. They're not going to win. They can't even spell president.
I know. Like, what party are you running in? You never actually said that.
I did. I said it was a crack party. All day, crack this. I got a book that's made out of crack. Read it first, then smoke it.
So we got Joe Exotic running for 2024. Come on. You know, the Tiger King himself. I'm waiting for Carol Baskins to make an appearance.
See,
I mean, Warren, see, if the Tiger King is running, you might have competition.
See, I'm pleading to the OGs back in the 80s when crack was king, right? You know, all my peeps from back then, my boomers from the 80s that still like to smoke the rock. You know,
I cannot wait to see Crack King and Tiger King debate on stage. This is going to be the best.
Absolutely.
Live at the Civic Center, Crack King versus Tiger King. Be there, be there, be there. We're going to fill the Metrodome up to the roof with mud.
That's right. That's right.
So where can they find you?
Yes, channels, shows, Warren. You got this.
Fine. It'll get me out of here.
Yes.
Apparently, that's how you get out of this purgatory. Of course, dog, I understand. I'm trying to get out of here, too. All right. So I'm at W. Dearman on Twitter. And don't laugh at me, Shane. It's just my function in life.
Hold on, I gotta figure out a point to. I can't point to Warren.
Whatever you do that's wrong, do the opposite.
Oh.
I have a link tree. It's link tree with the Extra Bulla on the thing, that's where everything is. You can find all the shows and stuff. And yes. Thank you, Nightbot. That's very kind of you. You're a very sweet person.
Oh, you got the Nightbot set up. Your YouTube channel is more high tech than ours.
Bleep bloop. Send me some cash. That's what Nightbot's saying. Anyway, no. But yeah, so you can find me on there. We got what's this Thursday? So Saturday night, me and President Jimi will be doing the secret show midnight Eastern with a ragtag group of misfits and scientists that have lost their way. Mm-hmm. So and then some shit over the weekend. I haven't figured it out yet because I've got life stuff going on too. The IRL, as the kids say in real life.
IRL, yeah.
So some of the scheduling is kind of the shows may be kind of in different places for a while, but the secret show should remain intact. That should be set in granite, not moving anywhere. So,
but that's a secret, so nobody knows about it.
Yeah, there is no secret show. That's the secret, or is there? If you have crack, it's any show you want, baby, because that's what Daddy does. And I have tassels I put on for these, for the girls.
Welcome to my life, gentlemen. Welcome to my life.
You've been to Vegas.
As long as the tassels are the only thing you're twirling on camera, we'll be okay.
Most of the time.
All right. All right, Johnny, where can people find you?
I'm nowhere, dude. I'm everywhere. I mean, just find my name and look me up. I'm easy to find. If you want to find me, you find me. No, I suppose if anybody really, really wanted to reach out to me, Twitter is kind of where I hang out. I'm on Facebook a little bit, but not really. Like Yona said, it's just to keep track of old friends and stuff. I don't.
That's where Johnny. If you go on Twitter, Johnny will be talking about Monopoly an awful lot.
No, I don't talk about it that much anymore. But I've been talking about Elon and his stupid, antics, and his blowing up his rocket, and getting rid of legacy checks, and and he's. We'll talk about it some other time, but he's actually keeping certain ones for celebrities and people that he likes. So he's
but
actually
not for Johnny Akzam. You don't get to keep your check, right?
Well, it's not just me; it's just other people. It's a disturbing situation that you guys will cover on a show sometime.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, Joe, where can people find you?
Right now, I'm mainly on Twitter, Idaho Joe, or ID Joe for Idaho. Do a little bit of stuff for Kind Idaho if you're following kindidaho.org, Kind Idaho Medical Marijuana Movement in the state of Idaho. Doing work on that. And I'm also working on the Chase Oliver, Chasing Liberty for President. Doing that in support of, Libertarian candidate 2024. Giving good old Joe Exotic a run for his money. But right now, no, it's actually fun because you're looking at one of those youthful presidential candidates. He's under 40. He's looking at that millennial level energy. Where his main competition right now is all of the geriatric squad. He's half the age of the candidates right now that the president, that the Democrats and Republicans are putting forward. Yeah, well,
Touche.
I'm somewhere in between the geriatric squad and my guy Chase. But yeah, it's time to put some youthful energy and some pizzazz into the office. 40 years, how long Biden's been in politics since 73, man.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about legalization of marijuana, the fact that Biden's never going to touch it. He spent 50 years building his political empire around making weed illegal. You think he's going to undo that with a stroke? No, man, never going to happen.
No.
You got dinosaurs like Feinstein that won't just leave.
Pelosi won't leave. Schumer.
And those are just the Democrats that are a problem. Not to mention the dinosaurs over on the GOP side that have been against that kind of stuff anyway because they can't farm.
It doesn't change. It's all the same people, all the same places. Just because you're blue dog Democrats, tough on crime. Now you got your red rhinos.
Mm-hmm.
Tough on crime. Got to have that big state to make sure everybody toes the line. Yeah.
And Jimmy, when's the next episode of what?
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 What? What the hell?
What? I will. What is it today? Thursday. I'll be back on tomorrow. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific. So we're back here on KRTD.
Excellent. And I'm going to make my announcement because I've been too lazy to put any other promotion in place because, all of you know how good I am at promotion. Right, Johnny?
You're working on it. You're getting better.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to be starting a show on the 7th called Citizen Shane. Credit to Johnny for the name there. And we're going to talk about all kinds. We're going to do panels like this. Maybe with a few less people, maybe like 3 people instead of 10. But we're going to do panels like this. We're going to do different news topics, some interviews. I'm going to do my candidate interviews again, ripping into the candidates a little bit. Some activist interviews and just some random shit. And they're going to be on Sundays at whatever time I decide to do them. And I'll throw out a tweet at some point about what time the show is going to be because I haven't decided yet. But I'll decide maybe by the 6th. That way I'll have a good day of promotion. No, I'll decide within the next couple of days. So I'll have a few weeks of promotion. As soon as I get some graphics.
We need a Citizen Shane in the bucket of chicken.
I don't know. We might have to in the logo, in the thumbnail, with the newspaper and the headline that we talked about. You might have to sneak a bucket of chicken somewhere in there, just in the corner, like hidden, a little bucket of chicken. Popeyes, has to be Popeyes, and then we'll only be the ones that know about that, and you can hide it in the corner like a Where's Waldo thing, like an Easter egg somewhere in the logo. And from now on, we'll always know because of his escapade with chicken. But that sounds like fun, Shane. Yeah, I think Sedition Shane will be a good addition to your.
And I just want to let everybody know what our first show is going to be, because I've already decided. Our first show is going to be a show discussing worker co-ops versus unions versus non-union jobs. What are the benefits and what are the downsides of each one of them? And Johnny is going to join us as a panelist because he's a big worker co-op guy.
Well, it's a better option than the other two you just mentioned, but yeah, there's better options than even worker co-ops, but we'll settle for that as a transitional stage to a better resource-based economy or something. But
and we'll see who else I can rope into doing the show. All right, so we've been on here for over 2 hours, and we don't want to be on here for 3. So,
right.
Let's all say goodnight. And
huge shout out to everyone that's been watching. Thank you guys all for who stuck around, who just came into the show, and then left and is in the comment section now. You guys are all awesome. I truly appreciate you all for being here. And anybody that has a show today that has been put up on the thing, please give them a follow. It definitely helps. Looks like somebody lit their house on fire, or sounds like it. So we're gonna get off of here. All right. Love you guys. Peace out. Talk to you later.